The amber glow of crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across marble floors. Lauren Bennett's heels clicked against polished stone, each step less steady than the last. Champagne had been flowing too freely at Stellar Tech's corporate gala, pressed into her hands by Rachel Morgan's predatory smile. Her vision blurred as she fumbled with the key card. Room 1408. The numbers swam before her eyes in the dim hallway. The lock clicked. The door swung open. A figure stood silhouetted against floor-to-ceiling windows, broad shoulders tense beneath a suit tailored to perfection. He turned. Dark eyes met hers, calculating despite the flicker of surprise across angular features. Wrong room. Lauren's words slurred as heat flooded her cheeks. His presence filled the space like smoke. "I'm so sorry. I thought this was mine." She fumbled in her purse, fingers finding a crumpled $100 bill. Corporate instincts kicked in even through the alcohol haze. She thrust it toward him. "Here, take this." "Forget this ever happened." His eyebrows rose. Amusement played at the corners of his mouth as he stepped closer. The scent of expensive cologne mixed with something darker, more primal. Money. His voice was velvet over steel. "What exactly do you think you're paying me for?" "I don't know." Panic cut through her intoxication as she backed toward the door. "I messed up. I just want to make this right." "And you think money fixes everything?" Something in his tone made her look at him more carefully. Everything about him screamed power. The way he held himself, the quality of his clothes, the predatory stillness with which he watched her. "Who are you?" she whispered. He studied her for a long moment, cataloging every detail of her face. "Just a man who appreciates honesty," he said finally. "Something tells me you don't get much of that in your line of work." The comment hit too close to home. Lauren's hand found the door handle behind her. "I should go." "Yes." But he didn't move to let her pass. "You should." For a heartbeat, they stood frozen in the charged space between them. Something electric passed through the air. A recognition that neither of them was quite what they seemed. Then her survival instincts kicked in. She fled. She ran down the hallway on unsteady legs, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, the soft click of his door closing, but she could swear she felt his eyes on her retreating form. It wasn't until she reached the safety of her actual room 3 doors down that she realized she'd left something behind in that stranger's presence. Something she couldn't name, but knew she'd be desperate to find again. The next morning, Lauren sat in Stellar Tech's gleaming conference room, nursing both a headache and coffee that tasted like regret. Around her, the marketing team buzzed with nervous energy. Nexus Innovations was their white whale, the client that could make or break the company. She smoothed her blazer and tried to push thoughts of the mysterious stranger from her mind. She had work to do, a career to save, a life to rebuild from the ashes of 2. Many bad decisions. The conference room doors opened. With a soft whoosh of expensive air conditioning, Lauren's coffee cup slipped from nerveless fingers. The man from the hotel room strode into the meeting, with the confidence of someone who owned everything he surveyed. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his suit immaculate, and his eyes found hers immediately across the crowded room. He smiled. A predator recognizing its prey. "Good morning," he said, his voice carrying easily through the sudden silence. "James Carter, CEO of Nexus Innovations." He paused, his gaze never leaving hers. "I believe we have some business to discuss." The shattered remains of Lauren's coffee cup seemed to echo in the sudden silence. Every eye was on her as she knelt to gather the pieces, her hands shaking not from caffeine withdrawal, but from the electric shock of recognition. James Carter, CEO of Nexus Innovations, the most powerful man in tech on the West Coast. And she'd tried to bribe him with a crumpled $100 bill. "Careful!" His voice drifted down to her, silk wrapped around a blade. "Broken things have a way of cutting deeper than you expect." Lauren's fingers stilled on a shard of ceramic. When she looked up, his dark eyes were fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin burn. He knew exactly what he was doing, turning her world upside down in front of her colleagues, her rivals, her entire professional life. "I'm fine," she managed, rising to her feet as a janitor appeared. "Just clumsy this morning. We all have our off days." But there was something predatory in his smile. He moved to the head of the conference table like he owned it. Which, Lauren realized with growing dread, he essentially did. Shall we begin? The next hour was torture disguised as a business meeting. Lauren delivered her presentation flawlessly, her years of experience carrying her through even as her mind reeled. Every time she glanced at James, he was watching her with that unreadable expression. When the meeting finally ended, she gathered her materials with trembling hands. "Ms. Bennett?" His voice stopped her at the door. "A word. In private." Her colleagues filed out, shooting her curious glances. Rachel Morgan lingered longest, her smile sharp as glass. When the door clicked shut, the silence felt suffocating. "So," James leaned against the conference table, arms crossed. "Last night was interesting. Mr. Carter, I can explain. Can you?" He moved closer, each step deliberate. "You stumbled into my room, drunk, tried to bribe me, then ran away like the building was on fire." Heat flooded her cheeks. "I made a mistake. I was at a company event and I had too much to drink. It won't happen again." "Which part?" His eyes glittered with dark amusement. "The drinking? The bribing? Or the running away? All of it." Pity. He was close enough now that she could smell that same cologne from last night. "I was starting to find you interesting." "I'm not here to be interesting," Lauren said, forcing steel into her voice. "I'm here to do my job." "And what if I told you that your job now depends on what happened last night?" Her blood ran cold. "Are you blackmailing me?" "I'm being honest." He tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. "Something you claim to value. I could choose any marketing firm in the country, but I'm considering Stellar Tech for one reason." "And what's that?" "I want to know who you really are, Lauren Bennett." His voice dropped lower. "The woman who walks into strangers' rooms, or the one who delivers perfect presentations while her world crumbles around her?" "They're the same person." "No." He reached out, his fingers barely grazing her wrist. "They're not. And that's what makes you dangerous." She pulled away, her pulse racing. "You don't know anything about me." "Then tell me." It wasn't a request. "Dinner. Tonight. Consider it part of the pitch process." "That's completely inappropriate." "So is bribing potential clients." His smile was cold. "But here we are." Lauren's phone buzzed. "A text from Rachel. Don't screw this up. We need this deal." She looked back at James, at the challenge in his eyes, at the trap closing around her. "Fine," she said. "One dinner." "Excellent." He handed her a card with an address embossed in gold. 8 o'clock. Don't be late. He left her standing in the empty conference room, her heart hammering, her mind racing with questions she didn't want to answer. That evening, Lauren stood outside La Ciel Étoilé, one of San Francisco's most exclusive restaurants. The kind of place where reservations required months of waiting and connections she didn't have. James was already seated when she arrived, his dark suit exchanged for something more casual but no less expensive. He rose as she approached, and for a moment she saw something softer in his expression. "You came," he said. "Did you think I wouldn't?" "I hoped you would. There's a difference." He pulled out her chair. "Wine? I think we both know that's a bad idea." "Fair enough." He ordered sparkling water for both of them. "Tell me about yourself, Lauren. The real story. Why do you care?" "Because most people in your position would have tried to seduce me last night." His eyes were serious now. "Instead, you tried to pay me off and run away. That's either incredibly stupid or incredibly smart. I'm trying to figure out which." Lauren took a breath. Something about the way he was looking at her made her want to be honest. To drop the corporate mask she wore like armor. "I worked my way up from nothing," she said quietly. "No connections, no trust fund, just talent and 80-hour weeks. And now I'm one bad deal away from losing everything I've built." "Because of Rachel Morgan." Her head snapped up. "How did you—" "I do my research." He leaned back, swirling his water glass. "She's been sabotaging you for months. Small things. A client here, a pitch there. She wants your job. And you knew this when you walked into that conference room." "Yes." "So this whole thing is what? A test?" "No." His hand moved across the table, covering hers. "It's a choice. I can give Stellar Tech this contract. But I need to know you're strong enough to survive what comes next." "What comes next?" His grip tightened slightly. The truth about who I really am. About what I need from you. About the deal that's going to change both our lives. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. She glanced down. A photo filled the screen. James and her, from last night, in his hotel room. The angle made it look intimate. Damning. Underneath, a message from an unknown number. Withdraw from the Nexus pitch or this goes to the board. You have 24 hours. Lauren's hand shook as she showed James the screen. His expression went cold. Dangerous. So it begins, he said quietly. What begins? He looked at her with something like regret in his dark eyes. The part where we find out who we really are. The photo glowed on Lauren's phone screen like evidence at a crime scene. James stared at it, his jaw tight, his eyes calculating in a way that made her stomach twist. Rachel, Lauren whispered. It has to be her. No, James's voice was flat. Look at the angle. This was taken from inside the room, before you arrived. The realization hit her like ice water. You knew someone was watching? I suspected. He met her gaze, and for the first time, she saw something raw beneath his controlled exterior. I've had a problem. Someone inside Nexus feeding information to competitors, sabotaging deals. I thought if I came to Stellar Tech personally, I could flush them out. By using me as bait. Her voice shook with fury. You set me up. I gave you a chance. He leaned forward, his intensity almost painful. Everyone else I've dealt with has tried to manipulate me. Use connections, seduce me. You tried to pay me off with $100 and run away. You were real. And now someone's threatening to destroy my career because of your corporate spy games? Yes, the simple honesty of it stole her breath. She stood, grabbing her purse. I'm done. With this dinner. With your deal. With whatever twisted game you're playing. His hand caught her wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop her. If you walk away now, they win, he said quietly. Rachel gets your job. My saboteur stays hidden, and we both lose everything. Let go of me. Not until you hear me out. His thumb brushed against her pulse point. I have a plan, but it requires you to trust me. Completely. Trust you? She laughed, bitter and sharp. You just admitted to using me. I'm being honest. Something neither of us is good at. His eyes searched hers. I could have lied, pretended this was all chance. But I'm giving you the truth because you deserve it. Because somewhere between that hotel room and this moment, I started caring what happens to you. You don't even know me. Then let me. He released her wrist, but didn't look away. Stay, fight with me, or walk away and let them destroy us both. Your choice. Lauren's mind raced. Every instinct screamed to run, but something in his expression held her frozen. Something desperate and damaged that matched the broken pieces inside herself. What's your plan? She asked finally. The relief that flashed across his face was so brief, she almost missed it. We give them what they want, he said. You withdraw from the pitch, publicly, tomorrow. Morning? That's insane. And then we announce that I've hired you, directly, as Nexus Innovations' new Chief Strategy Officer. The restaurant seemed to tilt around her. What? You're brilliant, Lauren. I've seen your work, not just today. I've been watching you for months. He pulled out a folder from his briefcase, slid it across the table. Every campaign you've built, every client you've saved. You're wasted at Stellar Tech. She opened the folder with trembling fingers. Inside were copies of her projects, annotated with notes in his handwriting. Praise, criticism, ideas for improvement. You've been stalking me. I've been recruiting you. He leaned back, his expression unreadable. The hotel room was an accident. But everything else? I came to Stellar Tech because I wanted you on my team. The saboteur just made things more complicated. And if I say no, then I walk away. The deal dies, and we both wonder what might have been. His voice dropped lower. But if you say yes, we set a trap. Use their own surveillance against them. Find out who's behind this, and make them pay. Lauren looked at the folder, at the months of research, at the evidence of his attention. Why me? She whispered. Really? James was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw. Because 3 years ago, I built an empire on a lie. I destroyed people who trusted me, sacrificed relationships for profit, and I told myself it was worth it. That power justified everything. He met her eyes. Then I watched you turn down a promotion rather than throw your assistant under the bus for a mistake that wasn't hers. You chose loyalty over advancement, and I realized I'd forgotten what that looked like. You saw that? I see everything, Lauren. It's my job, my obsession." He reached across the table, his hand hovering over hers. "But I haven't felt anything in years. Until you stumbled into my room, drunk and defiant and real." Her breath caught. "This is crazy." "Probably." A ghost of a smile. "But it's also honest. And I think we're both tired of pretending." Before she could respond, the restaurant lights flickered. Once. Twice. James's expression went cold. "Get down!" "What?" The window behind them exploded inward in a shower of glass. Lauren hit the floor, James's body covering hers as screams erupted around them. Her ears rang from the impact. Blood bloomed on James's sleeve where glass had cut him. "Stay down," he growled in her ear. Through the chaos, she saw a figure in the doorway. Familiar. Impossible. Rachel Morgan stood in the entrance, her smile sharp as the broken glass scattered across marble floors. "Hello?" "James," Rachel said, her voice carrying over the panic. "Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out?" James shifted, putting himself between Lauren and Rachel. "How long have you been working for Meridian Corp?" "Since before you poached Lauren from under my nose 3 months ago." Rachel's eyes glittered with something cold and vicious. "Oh, he didn't tell you that part, did he, Lauren? That job offer isn't new. It's been on the table since August. He's just been waiting for the right moment to destroy Stellar Tech and take you with him." Lauren's world tilted. She looked up at James, at the tension in his shoulders. "Tell me she's lying," Lauren said. The silence stretched too long. "I can explain," James said quietly. "That's a yes." Lauren pushed herself up, ignoring the glass cutting her palms. "You've been planning this for months. The hotel room wasn't an accident. None of this was. The hotel was real," he insisted. "Everything I felt was part of the con." Rachel moved closer, her heels crunching on broken glass. He needed someone inside Stellar Tech, someone vulnerable, someone desperate enough to betray her company for a chance at redemption. "That's not," James started. "Isn't it?" Rachel cut him off. She pulled out her phone, showed Lauren the screen. Emails, dozens of them. Between James and someone named M. Harrison, discussing Lauren, her weaknesses, her ambition, how to manipulate her. "Marcus Harrison," James said, his voice tight. "My former partner. The saboteur." "Rachel, he's using you." "No." Rachel's smile widened. "We're using you. Both of you." She pressed a button on her phone. Around them, the restaurant patrons stood as one, not panicked, not fleeing, just watching with cold, calculating eyes. "Every person here works for Meridian Corp," Rachel said softly. "The photo, the threats, the broken window, all of it designed to bring you two together, to make you trust each other, to make you vulnerable." Lauren's heart hammered against her ribs. "Why?" "Because Nexus Innovation isn't the prize." Rachel moved to stand beside a man Lauren now recognized from Stellar Tech's board. "The prize is what James has been hiding. The algorithm he stole from his original partners, the one worth $3 billion. She looked at James. "The one he'd do anything to protect, even fall in love." James's hand found Lauren's in the broken glass and blood. "Run," he whispered. Then he lunged at Rachel. Chaos erupted. James fought with brutal efficiency, dropping 2 of Meridian's people before they overwhelmed him. Lauren ran, her heels abandoned, her bare feet slipping on marble and glass. Behind her, James's voice roared above the violence. "Lauren!" "The algorithm is in your apartment!" "They planted it! Get out!" She burst through the kitchen doors, past shocked staff, into an alley that smelled of rotting food and desperation. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "If you want him alive, bring me the algorithm. Pier 39. Midnight. Come alone or he dies. Below it, a photo." James, bloodied and bound, his dark eyes fixed on the camera with something like resignation. Lauren leaned against cold brick, her breath coming in gasps, her mind racing. Everything she'd believed. Every moment, every touch. All of it a lie, or was it? She remembered the way he'd looked at her. The raw honesty in his voice, the way he'd covered her body with his when the window shattered. Real or performance? Truth or manipulation? She had 4 hours to decide, 4 hours to choose, between saving herself or saving the man who'd destroyed her life. 4 hours to become someone she never thought she'd be. Lauren's apartment had been torn apart, furniture overturned, drawers emptied across hardwood floors. They'd been looking for something. The algorithm James claimed they'd planted. She found it behind her bathroom mirror. A thumb drive taped to the wall, small and innocuous and worth $3 billion. Her hands shook as she held it. Evidence of corporate espionage, stolen intellectual property, everything that could destroy James or set him free, if any of it was real. Her phone buzzed again. Another photo. James's face, blood trickling from his temple, but his eyes were alert, calculating, and his left hand showed 3 fingers, a signal, a message she couldn't decode. Lauren sat on her destroyed couch, the thumb drive burning in her palm. She could call the police, turn over the evidence, let justice sort out who was guilty and who was lying. Or she could go to Pier 39 at midnight and trade the algorithm for a man who might have orchestrated her destruction. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Lauren. Marcus Harrison's voice was smooth as poison. I assume you found what we left for you. Where's James? Safe, for now. A pause. He really didn't tell you, did he, about what he did to me? To the others? Tell me. 5 years ago, James and I built Nexus Innovations together. Equal partners. Brothers, practically. Marcus's voice hardened. Then he discovered the algorithm. The one that would change everything. And instead of sharing it, he rewrote our partnership agreement, buried me in legal fees, took everything. So this is revenge. This is justice. Marcus laughed, bitter and sharp. He destroyed 3 families, bankrupted 2 of his oldest friends, all for that algorithm, and now I'm going to take it from him the same way he took it from us, by making him trust someone who'll betray him. I'm not betraying anyone. No? The smile in his voice made her skin crawl. Then why are you holding that thumb drive? Why are you considering bringing it to me? Because somewhere between the hotel room and the shattered restaurant, she'd started to care. Despite the lies, despite the manipulation. She'd seen something real in James's eyes when he covered her body with his own, or maybe she'd just seen what she wanted to see. Midnight, Marcus said. Pier 39, don't be late. And Lauren, if you bring anyone with you, James dies. If you call the police, James dies. If you try anything clever, James dies. Understood? The line went dead. Lauren looked at the thumb drive, at the destruction around her, at the choice that would define who she really was. She thought of her career, her carefully constructed life, everything she'd built from nothing. Then she thought of James's hand finding hers in the broken glass. His voice raw with honesty. The way he'd looked at her like she was the only real thing in his world, truth or manipulation. Love or lies. There was only one way to find out. Pier 39. At midnight was a ghost town. The tourist crowds long gone. Only the sound of water against wooden pilings and the distant cry of seagulls broke the silence. Lauren walked slowly, the thumb drive in her jacket pocket, her phone recording everything. Not to call the police, but to have evidence of whatever came next. Marcus Harrison waited at the end of the pier, flanked by 2 men in dark suits. Between them, James knelt with his hands bound behind his back, his face a mask of controlled fury. Lauren, no. His voice cracked when he saw her. Get out of here! Touching, Marcus smiled. The concerned lover. Tell me, James, when exactly did you start actually caring? Before or after you decided to use her? I never used her. Liar. Marcus nodded to one of his men who struck James across the face. Blood sprayed across weathered wood. You've been planning this for months. The hotel room meeting, the pitch, all of it designed to get her to trust you, to give you cover while you hid the algorithm. Lauren moved closer, her heart hammering. Is that true? James looked up at her, and for the first time she saw fear in his eyes. Not for himself. For her. Parts of it, he said quietly. I knew about you before that night. I researched you. I wanted you on my team. But the hotel room was an accident. What I felt there, what I've felt since, that's real. How convenient, Marcus said. Lauren, give me the drive. James goes free. You walk away. Simple. Lauren pulled the thumb drive from her pocket, held it up in the dim light. This algorithm, she said slowly. It's worth $3 billion? Give or take. Marcus extended his hand. Insurance algorithms. Predictive modeling. It revolutionizes risk assessment. Makes traditional underwriting obsolete. And you built it together. You and James and 2 others. Yes, but James stole it. Rewrote the partnership. Took everything. Marcus's smile widened. You're smarter than he gave you credit for. Maybe. Lauren looked at James, at the blood on his face, at the desperate hope in his eyes. Or maybe I'm exactly as smart as he thought. Smart enough to realize that if this algorithm is so valuable, you wouldn't let either of us walk away. Smart enough to check whose signature is on the original patent filing. She pulled out her phone with her other hand, showed them the screen. Marcus Harrison, James Carter, Elena Voss, David Chen. She met Marcus's gaze. 4 names, not 3. You said he destroyed 3 families, but there were 4 partners. Marcus's expression went cold. Clever girl. Elena Voss died 2 years ago. Car accident. David Chen disappeared 6 months later. Lauren's voice shook but held steady. You didn't just want revenge, Marcus. You wanted them all dead. And you used James's reputation as a corporate shark to cover your tracks. Prove it. I don't have to. Lauren held up the thumb drive. Because this isn't the algorithm, it's evidence. Every email you sent, every payment to Rachel, every detail of your plan to kill the other partners and frame James for it. James's eyes widened. Lauren, how did you... Your 3 fingers. She met his gaze. 3 partners dead or missing. You were telling me there were 3 victims. So I went looking. For a moment, the pier was silent except for the water lapping against wood. Then Marcus laughed. Cold and empty. You think that matters? You think anyone will believe you over me? I'm the victim here. The wronged partner? Maybe. Lauren took a step back. But James isn't the only one who does his research. I've been recording everything, and I sent copies to 3 different lawyers with instructions to release them if anything happens to either of us. Bluff. Try me. The tension stretched taut as wire. Marcus's hand moved toward his jacket. Lauren's thumb hovered over her phone screen, ready to hit send on a message that would blow this whole thing open. Let him go, Lauren said quietly. Walk away, disappear, or I burn your entire operation to the ground. You'll be an accessory. You're holding stolen property, evidence of your crimes, obtained in the course of investigating corporate espionage. She smiled, cold and hard. I've been watching you too, Marcus. Learning. And I know exactly how to make this stick. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded to his men. Cut him loose. They freed James, who stumbled to his feet, his eyes never leaving Lauren's face. This isn't over, Marcus said. You just made a powerful enemy. Get in line. Lauren tossed him a different thumb drive. That's a copy of the algorithm. Consider it severance pay. The original goes public tomorrow, free for anyone to use. You can't. I just did. She looked at James. Neither of you gets to profit from something built on lies and death. It belongs to everyone now. Marcus caught the drive, his face twisted with rage, but he had no moves left. No leverage. You just destroyed $3 billion, he said. I destroyed a weapon. Lauren's voice was steady now. The difference matters. Marcus and his men disappeared into the darkness, leaving Lauren and James alone on the pier. For a long moment, neither spoke. You knew, James finally said. When you came here, you already knew about the other partners, I suspected. The 3 fingers confirmed it. She helped him untie the remaining bonds around his wrists. You were trying to tell me Marcus killed them, that this was bigger than corporate espionage. And you came anyway, with evidence that could have freed you completely. I came because I needed to know if what I saw in your eyes was real. She met his gaze. Was it? James was quiet for a long moment. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing away tears she hadn't realized she'd shed. I did research you, he said softly. I did want you on my team, and yes, I orchestrated ways to get close to you. His eyes were raw, honest in a way that cut deeper than any lie. But the moment you stumbled into my room, drunk and defiant and trying to bribe me with $100, everything changed. You were real in a world of masks, And I started falling before I even knew your name. You used me. I tried to. His forehead touched hers. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being a means to an end. You became the end itself. Everything I was willing to sacrifice for. Pretty words. True words. He pulled back slightly, his expression serious. You just destroyed my life's work, made the algorithm public, cost me $3 billion. I know, and I've never respected anyone more in my life. Lauren laughed, the sound breaking through the tension. We're both insane, probably. His smile was tentative, fragile, but at least we're honest about it now. So what happens next? James looked out at the dark water, then back at her. I don't know, he admitted. I built my empire on lies. You just tore it down with truth. I have enemies. Marcus won't stop. And there are probably a dozen other people who want me dead. Sounds complicated. It is. He took her hand, his grip warm and solid. But if you're willing to take a chance on me, on us, I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of the trust you showed tonight. Lauren thought of her destroyed apartment, her shattered career, the life she'd known burning down around her. Then she thought of the way James had covered her body with his. The honesty in his voice, the choice she'd made to save him despite everything. I need one thing first, she said. Anything. The truth. All of it, every lie, every manipulation, every dark corner of your past. Her voice was firm. If we're doing this, we do it with complete honesty. No more games. James was quiet for a heartbeat. Then he nodded. Okay? He squeezed her hand. But it's going to take a while. I've been lying for a very long time. Then we better get started. They walked off the pier together, hands intertwined, heading toward a future neither could predict. Behind them, the city lights glittered like scattered diamonds. Ahead, only darkness and possibility. But for the first time in years, Lauren felt like she was walking toward something real. Something worth fighting for. Something worth the cost. 6 months later, Lauren stood in the ruins of what used to be Nexus Innovations headquarters. Rain streaked the floor-to-ceiling windows, blurring the San Francisco skyline into watercolor smudges. Behind her, James sorted through boxes of personal items. The building was being sold, liquidated to pay legal fees and settlements to the families of the partners Marcus had destroyed. That's the last of it, he said quietly. Lauren turned. 6 months had changed him. The predatory edge had softened. The calculation in his eyes replaced by something warmer. More human, more broken, but alive. And real. Rachel took a plea deal, Lauren said, checking her phone. 2 years for corporate espionage. Marcus goes to trial next month. Good. James set down a box of awards and accolades that meant nothing now. Elena's daughter called yesterday to thank us for destroying your company, for giving her closure. He moved to stand beside her at the window. For proving her mother didn't just abandon her, that there was a reason she disappeared. Rain drummed against glass like 1,000 tiny heartbeats. We lost everything, Lauren said softly. Your company, my career. $3 billion, I know. And Marcus will probably walk. Men like him always do. Maybe. James's hand found hers. Or maybe the evidence we gave the prosecutors will actually stick. Maybe justice exists. You don't believe that. I'm learning to. He turned to face her fully. You taught me that truth has value beyond profit. That some things are worth more than winning. Lauren leaned against him, exhaustion seeping into her bones. The past 6 months had been a war. Legal battles, media scrutiny, death threats from Marcus's supporters who believed the narrative that James was the villain. They'd lost almost everything. Almost. The consulting firm called again, she said. They're offering good money, both of us. Crisis management for companies going through leadership transitions. Ironic. Fitting. She pulled back to look at him. We're experts at destroying corporate empires now. Might as well get paid for it. James smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You could take it alone. Start fresh without me. Without the baggage? Is that what you want? No. The honesty came easier now. 6 months of therapy and daily conversations about every dark corner of his past had stripped away the masks. But you deserve better than a disgraced CEO with enemies and legal bills that'll take years to pay off. And you deserve better than a woman who destroyed your life's work. You saved my life by ruining it first. Lauren touched his face, fingers tracing the scar from the restaurant window. We're a disaster, James, both of us. Broken and damaged and probably insane for thinking this can work. Probably. His hand covered hers. But I'd rather be broken and honest with you than whole and empty without you. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. Marcus Harrison had been denied bail. Flight risk, too many offshore accounts and connections. Maybe justice does exist, she murmured. Or maybe we just got lucky. James pulled her close, his heart beating steady against hers. Either way, we're here, together. That's enough. Lauren thought about the past 6 months, the nights they'd spent going through every lie he'd ever told, every person he'd hurt, every dark decision that had built his empire. She thought about her own confessions. The colleagues she'd stepped on to advance, the shortcuts she'd taken, the corporate warrior she'd become to survive. 2 broken people, holding each other together. The consulting offer expires tomorrow, she said. I know. We'd be working with the kind of people we used to be, helping them navigate the same moral compromises that destroyed us. I know. It feels like becoming the enemy. James was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. Or maybe it's becoming the ones who can actually help, who can say, I've been where you are. I know what it costs. Let me show you a different way. Lauren pulled back to study his face. When did you become an optimist? When I met a woman who stumbled into my hotel room and tried to bribe me with $100. His smile was genuine now. She showed me that honesty matters more than winning. That truth has value beyond profit. She sounds smart. She's terrifying. He kissed her forehead. And I'm terrified of losing her. You won't. Lauren pressed her palm against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. We've survived Marcus, the media, the legal battles. I think we can survive anything now, even ourselves, especially ourselves. Rain continued to fall as they stood in the empty office. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to their destruction, uncaring about their redemption. But here, in the ruins of what they'd been, something new was growing. Not perfect. Not easy, but real. Lauren's phone rang. The consulting firm? She looked at James, a question in her eyes. He nodded. She answered. This is Lauren Bennett. We're interested in your offer, both of us, but we have conditions. As she negotiated terms, James watched her with something like wonder. This woman who'd walked into the wrong room and changed everything, who'd seen his darkness and chosen to stay, who'd destroyed his empire and built something better from the ashes. 6 months ago, he would have said love was a weakness, a vulnerability to exploit. Now he knew it was the only thing that could save him. When Lauren ended the call, her expression was triumphant. We start next month. Equal partners, full transparency clause, and creative control over which clients we take. You're a hell of a negotiator. I learned from the best. She moved into his arms, or the worst, still figuring out which. Both. James held her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo and rain and new beginnings. Definitely both. They left the building together as the sun broke through the rain clouds. Behind them, Nexus Innovations crumbled into bankruptcy. Ahead, uncertainty and possibility stretched in equal measure. No more lies, Lauren said as they stepped onto the wet sidewalk. No more lies, James agreed. No more games. No more games. Just us, broken and honest and trying to be better. Just us. She looked up at him, rain and sunlight catching in her dark eyes. Think we can make it? James thought about the hotel room. The shattered coffee cup, the pier at midnight, every moment that had brought them here. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life finding out. Lauren smiled. Not the corporate mask she used to wear, but something genuine, something earned through fire and loss and choice. Then let's go be disasters together. They walked into the uncertain future hand in hand. Two people who'd lost everything and found something more valuable in the ruins. Not redemption. Not forgiveness, but truth, and with it, the possibility of becoming more than what they'd been. The city swallowed them into its endless movement. Just two more people starting over, two more broken things learning to be whole. And somewhere in the rain-washed streets of San Francisco, a new story began. Not of billionaires and empires, but of two people choosing honesty over everything else. It wasn't the ending either of them had imagined. But it was real. And real was enough. The end.